Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗪, taking a look at what we think is likely to happen next and all that wonderful stuff. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button, really do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, why not consider subscribing, tapping the bell, selecting all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. It's the first place that we go to notify you of everything that's going on in crypto, so keep your finger on the pulse of crypto by joining us down in Discord. Let's jump right down into this one though, right? So now we're going to be taking a look at the macro views, basically daily level or above. We're not going to be talking about the smaller stuff. We're not going to be talking about the hourly chart, 4-hourly chart or anything like that. But we are going to be taking a look at the daily view and the weekly view here. We're going to take a look at the smart money concepts. That's the chart in front of you here. We're going to take a look at some Elliott wave theory as well. So let's start with the Elliott wave theory. We can see that we have this three-wave structural move to the upside, and it is possible that we push this a fraction higher. Let's go ahead and just do some sense checks on that, as it's been a few weeks, I think, since I've last really covered 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 in any form of detail on the channel. You can see here we could push up just a fraction higher towards the $2.30 and $3.06. And there's going to be some interesting things with that. It's a possibility, doesn't mean it's going to happen. So we'll just park that right there. Our minimum expectations have already been met by pushing up into this high here, and that was on a wick at $1.56.81. So 56.81. Let me just put this down. 56.84. Currently, that's the closest I can get it. So that's our minimum right there. This could be our reversal point, as we have slid down pretty decently here, and it's a pretty steep, steady move to the downside. We're going to have to scrutinize this, as we have the corrective structure going up. We haven't got an impulsive structure going up, and this is looking like it's an impulsive structure going down on this daily chart. So let's go ahead and focus in on that. The differences between corrective and impulsive are very important. They're the distinction between whether you trend in a direction or not. Okay, so let's take a look. Do we see any kind of clear structures in here? I don't want to have to go down into a lower time frame, but we might have to just come into a 12-hour just to kind of see if there's anything in here that is overly concerning. Does look like we have a reasonable structure here. Actually taking a look at it, it's not looking like we have those impulsions that are occurring there. So I am reasonably happy to think of this price action here as corrective. 3 here, we go up in then 3, and then again you're coming down here in 3. That's okay. That's okay. We then have a 5-wave drop here. So this could be considered a corrective structure to this point. We then go corrective up, and then we have a 5-wave drop finishing here. So 335 flat correction there. And then we move up, not problem. Come down here again, lots of overlap, so we're not impulsive there, and then we end with a impulsive structure just at the end there again. 1 2 3 4 and 5. So it looks like we have 2 flat corrections stacked, in my opinion. But let's go back up to our daily. So we know it's corrective going down. It looks worse on the daily than it did on the small time frame, so this could be complete down here with a couple of corrections in there, so that's not too bad. The move to the upside is actually quite easy to spot on this daily chart. It is just 3 corrective structured moves to the upside here. I'll say 3 correctors, 3-wave structures just up here. Now it is possible that this goes up slightly higher before we actually have to go down anyway. So if we were to kind of reflect on this on the daily, we could obviously just acknowledge that we have kind of come down into a decent-ish level at the moment. I still think there's a little bit more room to the downside though, and then we can see this move coming up towards the 140. The problem we have here is that we do have a really strong high on this Elliott wave theory chart at 156.81, and we have what I would consider a kind of weaker low point down here. We actually get rid of this one, we don't need that one, and this being 94.26. So the issue that I have here is that we can see that we have a corrective structure potentially taking us up towards 140. And it doesn't peak higher than 156. It is possible that it can, but it would have to overextend within that end, and it's unlikely to occur. I would say that we have the ability to kind of fall within this little range. Just get that onto the 1.236 at 150 to, well, basically 140 to 150. Let's kind of leave it there. We won't worry about the smaller numbers. So it looks like that, which then puts us into the idea that there is a bigger macro piece where we have to do something to this effect, and we do have to come down lower than $1 on 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 here. Now, the positive news is that this could feed right into that bigger move up here, okay? And the reason for that is that we can see that we'd have this kind of structured point where we can kind of argue we've gone up 3, we can come down in 3, and all of this could be an A, B, C structure that takes us up there, and that would actually then allow our C wave structure to actually be in line with our bigger kind of picture. Okay, sometimes they move very rapidly like this, and sometimes they're a long drawn out process to kind of get up there. So the issue that we would have is that this is going to put us right up into this upper area of resistance, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that, see how that kind of plays out. But yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see whether we can push it or not. So I wouldn't focus on these kind of macro levels from a trading point of view just yet. I would focus more on these kind of smaller moves and see how they play out, because there's a lot of things that could occur on this move to the downside that could invalidate or create invalidations of these bigger moves to the upside. So it's important that we pay attention here. We are talking several months of data to be gathered before we could really be confident about that move to the upside. We're not talking that's something that's going to happen next week. This is something that's going to have to take some time to play out. So for example, it looks like we probably have to come down a bit more. We're not fully oversold on our daily chart here, but we are oversold on the 8 hour, for example. There's probably some smaller movements to occur on the hourly and 4 hourly before we can then get this little move to the upside. That might change that target range as well as we do drop down a little bit lower. So let's jump over into our smart money concepts, right? So for this, we are in a bullish structure right now. According to smart money concepts on this daily chart, right? We have our change of characteristic from bearish to bullish, right? We can see that, and we have our break of structure. That's good and positive. I don't think this is going to be long-lived, though. I do think that we are going to be breaking down and creating a new change of characteristic to the downside. One of my biggest concerns over Polygon's Matic is the exposure that it has to some of these bankrupt companies that are yet to sell those assets. So at some point, they're going to be a flood of Matic on the ecosystem, on the market, I should say. And I think that's going to lead us to doing something potentially like this. Now, as I said, it's possible that we have those micro movements right to the upside. However, it's important to also reflect on everything that's happened up here so far. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to push up into these higher ranges here. Even if we do, without piercing that high wave up here, this high and the all-time high, I think it was, unless we can pierce that, it's very unlikely that we're going to be able to kind of come out of this structure in an unscathed way. So for the most part, it looks pretty decent, though. I mean, I'm pretty happy at the moment with Polygon's Matic, unless we start really getting some changes here occurring. Now, if we start jumping into this, right, and we can kind of see that we do have a weak high and a strong low. So that is actually the opposite of what I was saying with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗧𝗧, because it looks to me like we have to come down a bit more on these kind of smaller things, specifically here, but not down here, right? We're not talking about coming down towards the low of 74, but we are looking at potentially coming down lower than $1 at some point here. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. Now, if we've hit the local top and we just break down by some kind of black swan event, then of course we are talking about coming and testing these weak lows. Okay, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be on the horizon here. So it'd be interesting to kind of see how it plays out. Ultimately, Bitcoin's going to be the one that's going to decide the fate of crypto, and I think that it doesn't look anywhere near as strong as Polygon's Matic. So kind of take this with a pinch of salt. Unfortunately, I think Polygon's Matic will follow the market. And if Bitcoin really does kind of reach those exhaustion levels, then I do think we're going to see reversal with Bitcoin. I would expect Polygon's Matic to also reverse. Okay, so although independent of Bitcoin, it does look bullish, I would be very concerned about the landscape of the economy to think about the move to the new all-time high. Although we can see that potential here for Polygon's Matic, we have to consider the fact that I don't think the economy is really ready for that. So we'll keep a close eye on it. But from now, that's kind of where we are. We are also finding ourselves getting rejected on the equilibrium right here, and also the 50 EMA. Okay, if I come into my settings here just to make sure that, the white line is the 50 EMA, the yellow line is the 200 EMA, right? So we can find support potentially on the 200 EMA, but the resistance is really coming in on the 50 EMA. Also, that coincides with our equilibrium, and rejection from equilibrium will unfortunately push us down a little bit further. So we want to be a little bit cautious here as well. Although we do have the potential wave counts to think about this pushing up higher, there's no guarantee of that. And of course, on this daily chart, my big concern would be that we'd do something to this effect and come right back down into testing those lows, which would be a fantastic opportunity, I think, to DCA and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, for now, that's kind of where that one sits. From our weekly time frame, We can see that we're still coming down on the stochastic, so it's getting into a strong position, but we're not there yet. Again, taking a look at this on a weekly time frame, if we come into the Gaussian channel here, we can see that we're trying to push through this Gaussian channel for the first time. This is only the first time really for 𝗕𝗪, because it hasn't really got enough history, but we can see that we did pull back down, we come back in, and we've been hovering around this Gaussian channel for a while. Be interesting to kind of see how that kind of plays out. Ultimately here on our weekly time frame, where are our major areas of support to be found? And they are really coming in right around here at about 75 cents. We can see that right in there. Okay, if I actually pull this all the way across, you can start to see how this is a consistent area on the chart for a support to be found. If we were to lose this level for whatever reason, then it's going to be a struggle. Okay, and we obviously do have the June low, okay, as the bottom was in by the appearance of stake anyway in June. We can see that right in there, and this also happens to fall in with a support level. So at the moment we're doing okay. From our resistances, we can see that the upper resistance was hit up here, and if we pull this line all the way across here, we can see that actually this fell a little bit short of the typical, but we did find this little area right in here, and I would say that actually the major areas are probably, let me actually get a yellow box for this, I think, right here to about here, this one. I think it's that one. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. Just pay attention to that one right in there. Yeah, I'd say that's about right. Yeah, you can kind of see it pushed up a little bit more. But here you can kind of see that this is an area there that is previously kind of, hovering around, finding support on it. Then it turned it into a bit of resistance. So again, this price range is 124.5 to 145.3. The upper area, 156.81. So there's a lot of resistance up in this range, and pushing through it could be difficult. But when we do push through it, it would lead us up into a new all-time high potential here for 𝗕𝗪𝗠𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘, which would be fantastic. So we could see that at 292 or greater. Lots of resistance on that journey though. Yeah, there's a lot of resistance up in there, so it will be a bit of a struggle. Like I said earlier though, my main concerns are whether or not those bankrupt companies are going to start mass selling 𝗕𝗪𝗠𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 as it starts to come into these higher ranges and to pay back their debts and their creditors, and that could basically introduce a mass amount of supply to the market, which will drag down and drown out the supply, so drag the price down. But it'll be interesting to kind of see how it plays out. For now, it does look like we've got a bullish setup. Just be aware of the economy and how bad that looks at the moment. But otherwise, yeah, I would expect some kind of small push to the upside to happen relatively soon. I'm going to leave this video right there. If you found it useful and informative, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Don't forget to join us down in Discord. And guys, I'll catch you all in the next one.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.